My name is Kat Doss-Alt. I'm a certified mindfulness instructor and registered yoga teacher. And today I'd like to talk a little bit about the concept of competition. So, competition is something that is instilled in a lot of us at a very early age. Even as kids, we play games. Someone has to win, someone has to lose. And I think it's a lot of fun when you're the winner. And when you're not the winner, it doesn't feel so good. But, that is part of life. But also, when you think about it, our relationship with competition is very complex. I think a lot of catastrophic things are driven by competition. Things like income inequality, political unfairness, things like that are driven by people competing over resources. You also have to think that a lot of people putting themselves through torture to make themselves a certain way, they might be competing for things like success in work or competing for things like success in dating, things like that. So you see people really pushing themselves. And so competition does drive improvement. It drives progress, but there's a cost because where there's a winner, there's a loser. We see that in game theory. With game theory, you kind of realize that if everyone just cooperated and worked for the best interest of everyone, then everyone would get a pretty good result. If people act selfishly, they tend to be rewarded in game theory. And people who act selflessly when the other person is acting selfishly, they get the worst result, and the person who acted selfishly gets the best result. And you see that in life too. I think Nash's game theory is very, very, very accurate, and really it's true in a lot of ways in life. I think it's very applicable to a lot of what we see in human interaction and behavior. I think it's important to realize that there's never going to be peace on earth. We're never going to have healthy relationships until we learn how to healthily deal with competition. Like I said, it's great when you're winning, and when you're not winning, when you're left out, when you're eliminated, when you lose, competition doesn't always feel so good. And so how do we make it so that we're able to share things like the earth and land and food and water and power and attention? How do we share that so that everyone wins? How do we make it so that we're the two cooperative winners in that dilemma? Because a lot of times you do have to behave defensively, because if you don't, just like in game theory, you're going to get the worst outcome. And so you're not even really consenting to compete. You have to, just to survive. And I think a lot of inefficiency is due to that as well. We have to really invest in defense, and we wouldn't have to if people were all acting in good faith. But because they're not, instead, we just have to try to balance things. And so the cycle continues, and I think it will perpetually continue until we finally figure out a way to learn to work cooperatively. Thank you so much. Like and follow for more.